Hi, and welcome back to Inspired Alchemy with Lizzie. This is episode 57. I'm actually going to do things a little different this week. It's going to be a two-part series. Today is part one, and it's called The Witch and the Scientist. Part two will come out on Friday, and that will be The Witch and the Werewolf. So, yeah, I'm going to do things a little different. Alchemy lives at the crossroads of intuition and logic. It's the sacred marriage of the witch and the scientist. The witch is a symbol of intuition, ritual, and surrender to the unseen. That is us trusting fully in our gut feelings and trusting in what is meant to be, even though we can't see the destination. The scientist is a symbol of curiosity, experimentation, and understanding through structure. And inspired alchemy is very much both of these things. I stay curious. I stay skeptical. I make sure I'm looking into the science of things. And for those of you who may not know, I might have mentioned it before, I might not have, but I was always really big into science. But I've also really been big into energy and witchy stuff my entire life. I was always the weird one. But that being said, I almost went to a science program when I went into high school, but I moved and I wasn't able to do that. So this has always been the two sides of me. So the witch and the scientist. So I'm going to kind of explore those two different concepts and figure out how they merge together. As human beings, we crave clarity, and we often don't get that clarity. So we have to trust in the unseen. The collective also does the same thing, which is why the collective is very heavy and everything is shifting right now. So whatever is shifting within the collective, we are feeling it. And I've mentioned this before, it's just getting stronger. We're feeling it on individual levels. So whatever is being mirrored to us to look at is also within the collective of humanity. So the first archetype I want to go over is the witch. I personally see myself and I joke about it because I live in Florida near the swamps, like a swamp witch. I love going into the swamp, and my favorite trees are the cypress trees that are there, and you can see the knees coming up from the water, and it's just, you wouldn't think so, but the swamp is a very magical place, especially if you go to a place where there's hanging Spanish moss, things like that. But that part of me, that witch part of me, is the intuition. It's the cycles. It's the connection to nature and mystery. It's opening the doors to unknown things and being okay with what's on the other side. It's knowing that nature holds so many answers to what we are seeking. But a lot of us don't get out in nature enough to see that or understand that. Obviously, the witch in history, like I've mentioned in the other episodes, was always sought after because she knew things. There was oracles, there were the witches, there were the medicine women and men and all of that stuff. But there came a point where people became scared of that archetype because they started to fall into a routine of just logic, of just science. And they lost that part of themselves that was connected to nature, that was connected to a higher source, whether you want to believe that it's God or the universe or a higher version of yourself, maybe all of them. We have forgotten that part of us. And so people are scared of what's different. They're scared of somebody knowing things in the unknown, if that makes sense. Connecting to the cycles of Earth, of the seasons, within ourselves, of the moon, even, is something that is extremely important to human beings. But a lot of us have left that behind. And so when somebody says surrender to the unknown, to the unseen, trust your intuition, people automatically go, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Or I don't know what surrender means. I don't know what my intuition is. I can't tell the difference between my intuition and my fear, or intuition and whatever other emotion you're feeling. So the first part of this is inviting yourself to start playing with your intuition, start playing with that witch side of yourself. And I'm not talking about going and doing spells or doing any of that. I'm talking about the archetype of the witch, of trusting and being okay in the uncertainty. Now, the scientist is curiosity, discipline, process. I talk a lot about trusting in the process, and it's proof. The proof would be the more you do a thing. So let's say the more you trust your intuition and you see that your intuition is leading you into places where it's like, oh, I saw that. Or, oh, yeah, I knew that was coming. Or I went this way and I'm so glad that I did because I avoided super bad traffic in an accident that was on the highway, whatever it is. So it's kind of like the scientific method for, I guess, the witch part of you, that the scientist. So I'm trying to merge the two. So stay with me here. It's finding out the scientific method for that witch part. So you have trusting in the process, whatever that brings, doing the experimentation, whether that's driving one way or eating a specific food that you feel inclined to eat, so intuitively inclined, obviously not allergic or anything like that. I'm not telling you to go out and eat shellfish or peanuts if you're going to have an anaphylactic shock kind of situation here. I'm saying, oh, I don't normally eat watermelon. I feel called to eat watermelon. I wonder what would happen if I ate watermelon. And then it was kind of like, okay, so I'll give you an example because I said watermelon. My daughter, she has a hard time drinking any kind of fluids. I try so hard. And she's an athlete. What kind of additives can I do? What kind of bottles? What kind of cups? Just nothing. And so she had to get blood drawn. And the doctor's like, oh, the blood looks like red today instead of black. And I'm like, well, she's been eating a good amount of cantaloupe. She's like, oh, yeah, that could do it because melon is mostly water. So she's intuitively called to eat that because she doesn't drink water. Okay. And the scientist is also about staying curious. Curiosity is actually a core value of inspired alchemy, and so is intuition and gratitude. So you have those things. So you have the witch, which is intuition. You have curiosity, which is the scientist. Gratitude, yes, it fits in there, but right now we're just talking about the witch and the scientist. So if we think about this in terms of the alchemical lessons in them, the witch is born into intuition and of deep listening and understanding and seeing synchronicities and trusting in her gut and connecting to the natural world, all of those different things. But we can't just go off of that, because then we can go into a world where we're kind of living in delusion. And you see this in a lot of, and I might get hate for this. I'm probably going to get hate for this if somebody's listening. But a lot of spiritual communities where you're doing a lot of bypassing and you're only living in the love and the light, there's no groundedness in that. It's all, oh God, I'm not going to, I'm going to say it. It's fluff. And I'm not saying that these communities don't have merit. That's not what I'm saying at all. But a lot of them like to do spiritual bypassing, which I've said before, we don't do that here. But the witch needs grounding to become creation. The scientist is, the lesson there is that if you're focused too much on the science, your heart stops listening. Your soul stops listening because you're only working with your mind. And so you miss out on a lot of the magic that happens. And so you must be able to kind of balance out that logic with wonder. So when we talk about the witch and the scientist and we want to bring them into union, that's the marriage of opposites. And it's super powerful if you can use both. If you decide, I'm going to trust my intuition, but I'm also going to trust science, because magic is just science that we haven't discovered yet. And I say that all the time. So if you trust your intuition and you trust the witch side of yourself and you marry that with the scientist part of yourself, it's where alchemy happens. So the witch is the ritual. I'll say ritual, even though I don't know another word to use. It's that part of yourself. And then the scientist is observation. And then you use both of those parts of yourself to create transformation. So the alchemical process. Obviously, there's a lot more involved in all of this, but those are the two archetypes that I tend to embody. But I didn't even realize that until I started talking about that and started researching it for this episode. So let me give you kind of an example of how you can merge the two. I might give you two examples. So you could do a morning ritual or habit, okay, where you journal your intentions. That's the witch part. Tracking that and seeing what happens in the results, that's the scientist. It's the same thing with habit tracking. You have the habits, you have them written down, and you see how that changes you throughout the process. We all know that taking action is what creates the certainty. Certainty, you can't have that if there's inaction. You need to keep following that to find the proof that things are working, right? The marrying of the two. Now, again, I am processing out loud as I am doing this episode. So bear with me. So we feel, we observe, then we act, and then we reflect. It's the marriage of the witch and the scientist. So the witch casts the spell, the scientist observes the change, and together they create the alchemy of becoming. And then anything that did not work, let's say the masks we wear, the pieces of us that are no longer serving us, we remove them from the equation and we put in what works. And we keep doing that throughout our entire life as we evolve, as we grow, and as we change. Change is the only constant. Which archetype do you lean more towards? Are you more the witch? Are you the scientist? Or are you both? If you're one more than the other, what can you do, even if it's small little habits or small little awarenesses. What can you do to kind of marry those two or bring balance to your witch and your scientist? So I've gotten a couple of different people telling me that they like the visualizations that I bring into these. So I'm going to do that. First, I want you to close your eyes and imagine two flames, one wild and violet, and one steady and golden. As they merge, they form a single radiant light. That's the space where intuition, your witch, and intellect, your scientist, meet. That is your inner alchemist. From there, we're going to go into the witch and the scientist within. I want you to find a comfortable position. Make sure you're not driving. Make sure you're not responsible for anything. This is just time for you. And I want you to breathe slowly. Just your normal breath. Maybe a little bit more deep so you can sink down into yourself. If you want, we can take a couple breaths together. We're going to breathe in and out. In and out. And we're going to do that one more time. And this time, you're going to sink a little deeper. And you're going to breathe in and out. And I want you to imagine yourself in the heart of a great cathedral, the Black Cathedral, your cathedral, where you are accepted in everything that you are. You are enough in this space, in all your weirdness and all your quirks and all of your shadows and all of your light. It's your place of sanctuary. The air hums with quiet energy, filled with the scent of aged parchment, candle wax, and rain-soaked stone. You can hear the crackling of the fire. The light from the stained glass windows paints the floor in jeweled tones of violet, gold, and crimson. This is your inner laboratory, your sacred temple of transformation. Ahead of you are two altars. To your left, flickering candles, herbs, a blackened cauldron, and a serpent coiled around a crystal vial. This is the altar of the witch, the intuitive, the alchemist of mystery, the one who feels energy and listens to the unseen. To your right, metal instruments gleam in precise order, beakers filled with glowing liquid, bubble faintly beside an open notebook etched with symbols and numbers. What numbers do you see? What symbols do you see? This is the altar of the scientist, the observer, the seeker of understanding, the one who finds meaning through structure and study. You stand between them. Take another deep breath. Feel the pull of both energies, the wild current of intuition and the steady pulse of logic. The witch within you whispers, "Trust the unseen." The scientist answers, "Observe what unfolds." You reach into your pocket and you find a small ornate key, cool and heavy in your palm. Its handle is carved into a spiral, representing the dance between chaos and order. You step forward, guided by instinct and curiosity. Both at the center of the cathedral is a great iron door, engraved with constellations and symbols that shimmer faintly in the candlelight. What constellations do you see? What symbols do you see? What does this door feel like to you? What color is it? This is the doorway to understanding. I want you to place the key in the lock, and as you turn it, a low hum fills the air, a sound like wind through the glass and heartbeat in stone. The door opens to reveal a golden laboratory bathed in starlight, and you enter. Around you, the witch and the scientist merge into one presence, hands weaving energy and form, art and equation, magic and method. Potions glow beside microscopes, candles flicker beside equations etched into chalk. It's beautiful, balanced, and whole. Now bring your attention to your heart. Imagine a gold flame flickering there, half wild, half measured. With each breath, it steadies. With each exhale, it expands. This is your inner alchemy, the point where intuition becomes insight and curiosity becomes creation. Stay here for a few moments. The witch's familiar meows in the background. This is the point where your intuition becomes insight and curiosity becomes creation. Feel both energies coexisting, supporting one another. You are both the witch and the scientist, the mystery and the method, the question and the answer. When you're ready, whisper to yourself, I am the experiment and the spell. I am the alchemist of my own becoming. I want you to breathe deeply again and slowly bring your awareness back to the room around you. Carry this union with you. Every observation, every intuition, every act of creation becomes alchemy. I want to thank you for being here with me. I'm sorry for the cat in the background. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Thank you for being here as I process my inner alchemy of the witch and the scientist. I don't take your time lightly, and I appreciate you being here with me because time is a precious resource that we cannot get back. And as always, I want to remind you that in a society that likes to tell us that we are broken, we are divided, and we are disconnected, I want to remind you, you are not broken, you are not disconnected, and we are not divided. Keep going. I know things feel heavy. You are enough as you are, and you are worthy of your dreams and everything that you want in this life. You are the alchemist of your life. And I know if you're here and you're listening, you are an alchemist. Please know that you are not alone. This is Inspired Perpetual Alchemy. And until next time, keep going, alchemists.